You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use our code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you, and a unique conversation to dive into today as we're taking a look at a national look at your Texas Tech Red Raiders, the 806, the LBK, and all things contained therein, Chris. A CBS piece getting some attention near and far certainly has got Texas Tech fans' attention. A CBS look at Joey McGuire and the Red Raider football program going into 2025. And, of course, on the heels of this offseason effort, the story has become even more captivating. And we'll get into a couple of things that we found interesting within that profile. And, of course, some things that we've also discussed before as it relates to what's on the line in 2025. The term honeymoon being used and what that actually means going into year 4. And also what seemed to be a theme of first embracing expectations, but really using this opportunity to strike while the iron is hot. And that's something we've touched on before, and where we'll begin, Chris. They were ready and prepared for this opportunity that came this offseason. And obviously the results say they took advantage of it.
Yeah, Shahan, don't hold it against him. He's a Baylor grad, but lives in Dallas and kind of covers this, the state and has always got some Big 12 in his blood and all those kinds of things. I think this is a really good, snapshot of the past, present, and I think what he's trying to tell you is the future. And I think that's very hard to do. It's like if you click on that article that he put together, it's like 24-minute read, to which a lot of people be like, okay, you don't have that much time. But anyway, it didn't take me that long, but it's I knew it was coming, and been asked a few things about it a couple of weeks ago. He's somebody that I've interacted with over the years, and anyway, I think he did a really good job. And I think that, to your point, like there's a piece in that story about the whole "I will" part of it, right? And how we came to that point about, okay, after a game and a loss, and it's like somebody went after Cody and said, "But why don't you get us an offensive line?" He wrote, "I will," and then there's Shahan kind of indicated, but the plan, little did everybody know, had started, weeks and months earlier. And that is absolutely accurate. They had felt it was either late September, early October, and this is really when a lot of this came into focus. And I even think at the time, I don't even think that they knew that they were going to be as aggressive. But as we have stated on this show multiple times, and Joey said it in the article, I don't know how we can't take this guy. Like, we can't turn him down. He wants to come here. We got the budget for it or whatever. Like, we really don't need to tell him no. And then this kept happening, and here we sit.
So whenever you began to see not only the preparation, but then all that paying off and all the yeses that came with it, we had, as highlighted within this look, we had guys who were canceling trips elsewhere, saying, why would you bother leaving and taking a look at anything else when you've got everything you need right here in this football resort, as it's being described. And it was unexpected, I guess, from the standpoint of seeing the hit rate, but the ambition, and again, striking while the iron is hot, I guess not necessarily all that unexpected, because as the article traces back, it goes back to a feeling leaving last season, a social media exchange, 2 words, and "I will," and a whole lot of this coming together sort of at the same time, right? We've talked about that timing and how some stars just aligned in some strange and somewhat unexpected ways coming into this cycle.
Yeah, because part of this is it's like because I think Shahan does a great job of like taking these different figures and starting from a long time ago and how they got here together, and it took it took Joey making a phone call. It took Joey getting hired. It took Joey taking a chance on Blanche. It took Blanche he used to post, and when he was in high school and in years afterwards, he'd post on these rival sites his thoughts about players, and then it kind of got some traction, and then people were like, dude, I think this guy kind of knows what he's talking about. Then he started asking for advice, all while putting fire hydrants together. Right. Okay.
Apparently.
And then it takes what was it like? It took Cody's grandfather that played sports at Tech, and there's all the family lineage of Cody's family that led him here, and then he ended up being a player here. And then it took him and John Sellers being in a dusty field, buying up leases, just rolling the dice, and bang bang. And so all of these things kind of are led everybody to this and these meetings, and even then the story's not finished, but it took a little bit of all of this for this story to be written and for this story to even be told, because if you don't have the deep pockets, it doesn't matter how much you want to get better or how big your city is growing or how fancy your football resort building is. If you couldn't really get involved here with NIL, a lot of this wasn't going to happen, for you, or potentially. But all of that was in play, and I think that Shahan did a good job of like Cody and Blanche and the different people. Like this is an investment. This is what we're doing. This is no different than there's no guarantees here. We're taking a chance, but we feel like we've mitigated risk by investing into these kinds of portal additions, like experienced ones. We feel like we're mitigating risk by spending big dollars on trench players, bigger people, and more of them. We feel like we're mitigating risk because we're taking their draft grades, we're taking their PFF grade, whatever they did, and they put it all together. And like, we feel like with all this, if we've got some investment to make and we can collect these pieces and we're trying to mitigate risk, but because none of these guys are out doing things they're not supposed to, or I'm assuming they've vetted a lot of that, but it all kind of led to this deal. But it took Double Eagle, having the financial wherewithal and motivated money, and then it took somebody that's thinking outside the box, like, hey man, I'm going to trust our personnel department that when they get in the portal, like, go. We don't have to like sit back. Okay, everybody, time out. Let's review it. No, so all working together here.
Yeah, that was something else that was touched on, was sort of the chain of command, or how that process would be, worked out previously, and not necessarily whenever the light turns green, all of a sudden, then kind of working out the steps to go through. And as we've talked about a lot before, that involves a lot of trust, which is not easily established or attainable in just any situation. So again, just kind of speaks to the special circumstances. Something I thought was interesting, and that I don't know that I've necessarily heard this before or heard it framed this way, but that apparently there was a call from Joey McGuire initially to Kirby Hocutt whenever the job was available, saying that on his behalf, it would be a mistake not to hire him as their next football coach, or Tech's next football coach. I don't know that I've heard the search committee play out that way, or heard it described that way. That was kind of interesting, I thought.
There was before this ever got done, I think they were looking at various candidates. And keep in mind, this was when was he hired? Calvin, you're going to have to help. It was like, was this October? Was this November? The season was still going.
You had a process started early, which you were criticized for.
Yeah, that's right. And Joey was still coaching at Baylor, and they still had games left. And I just knew there was Joey met with an individual before this ultimately got decided that was ultimately involved in the decision-making process at a steakhouse in Fort Worth on University Avenue, and kind of relayed his plan. This is why I would be such a good fit. But Joey, I mean, he again, I think he told on himself in that I'll never be able to live with myself if I don't make this phone call. If I don't tell you how I feel about wanting to be your football coach, I'll regret it for the rest of my life, kind of thing. Yeah. And there's even some anecdotes in the story about some have suggested that he's going to leave here and this and that.
First, today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it can be easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. You're going to love the all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com and our code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
Some have suggested that he's going to leave here and this and that, which there's various coaches that have come through here before where I'm like, yeah, you're probably gonna have to worry, or you're gonna have to pay him, or you're gonna have to do this or do that, or like, yeah, I could see if he may leave for this school or whatever. Yeah, this is one that I would say this is the end game. I mean, as long as he can keep it going and relevant and trending the right way, or getting there and staying there and all those things. Not that it's always going to be perfect. I just don't. But I think, yeah, he emptied his bucket on trying to recruit Texas Tech as much as they were looking to try to recruit a coach to come here. So I think that was, and that's, as he put it, or the story was written. We've talked about this a million times. That's why it's about fit. And the energy that he brings, and the excitement that he brings, and the positivity that he brings. I mean, read what the players say, read what the coaches say, read what the donors say, read what administrators say, read what the writer says. It's all energy, all positivity all the time. It never stops. Tuesday morning, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, Monday at midnight, whatever. I mean, this is what you're getting with this guy. And that's what this place at that time desperately needed. You needed somebody to bring it together and inject some juice into everybody, because it was sleepy. People were nervous. Like, where are we going from here? Do we have direction? What now? Like, we haven't been very good in a while. All that stuff. I'll stop being long-winded, but you get what I'm saying.
Well, and the in-game talk was also something that stood out to me, not necessarily in the exact words that you said it, but Coach McGuire was quoted as saying, I've now been at 4 places. I was at Crowley for 4 years, Cedar Hill for 20, Baylor for 5, and I will die here at Texas Tech. His words, not ours. His words, not ours. I mean, we've had some famous quotes in the history of college sports coaches, pine boxes and whatnot. I don't know how many times I have to say it. I'm not going to be the head coach at yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying, Chris? This is a strong statement, though. And, of course, there's a lot of different context there. I don't know if he's like a base jumper, what he does in his spare time. Is he just talking about some of his thrill-seeking off-season activities? Or does he just mean he's planning to ride it out here for the long haul? I'm hoping it's the latter of all this.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly well, and you and I were talking about this before we started taping, but like, to that point, I have been fortunate, or I don't know if I'd ever say unfortunate, but part of hosting the coaches show since going back to Giovanetti and I started doing with Coach Leach. It was like 07, 08 time frame. And, we both used to do it because Mike would show up. He maybe would show up 20, 30 minutes late. Well,
Sure.
we needed two of us there just to banter back and forth to fill the time on live radio there for a bit. And then Mike would show up, and then we would do our thing. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then when Tuberville got here, he's like, I just want one person to do it. And so I ended up doing it, and then I've been doing it ever since. But you're privy to interesting things, and there's a story kind of told in here. There's a couple of them, actually, one with a previous coach and then one with the current coach. But the current coach, I think this is the first time he had ever said this aloud, but it was, I guess it was year one, or maybe even we were in year two. I can't remember, but he's hearkening back, and I've heard of the story several times since then, but he's like, man, and he's saying it, Joey's like laughing about it. He's like, yeah, man, Debbie called me up. She's kind of getting on to me, man. Like, we got to win some games around here. I really like living here. Like, quit screwing around, man. Like, so he goes, I can't even go home. And like, and so this restaurant full of barbecue people, barbecue patrons that are eating ribs and chopped beef and all that stuff. I'm not worried about you guys. I can't even go home and fix myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because Debbie's pissed. Anyway, it made me laugh. And she's awesome. And I know what she meant, but she's like, sweetheart, can you pick it up a little bit? It's fun. I have good friends here. This is a great place. I don't want to leave. But this is part of the job. We got to win some football games. So, and he, as he tells the story, he's like, I told her I'm trying as hard as I can. But if you ever think that some of these people that get the brunt of the blame and get smack talked on social media and all that, and that'll happen again. Even people that are like, oh man, I'm all in right now. These are some of the same that talk the most trash if you only win 18-17 or you do lose
we're all
game.
standing by ready to use the brand new Trump meme. They don't know what they're doing. It's in everybody's Twitter pocket. I know it. Drive one, right. Chris.
That's right.
Yeah. No, this is the time of year though where nobody's lost anything yet in their negative place.
But she is gold, man.
They're committed to the cause.
Sure,
you can feel that.
Absolutely. She's got like 1,000 people coming to her women's only event in late July, and they just she understands the role here of First Lady of Texas Tech football. Very out there and like goes to everything and is very community oriented and all that stuff. Anyways, but yeah, these are people. I'll wrap it up by saying these are people you can easily root for and feel good about doing it. There is no ulterior motive. Nobody's trying to get out of here. No, this is where they want to be, worse than anything in the world. And they want to do well for the Codys, the Kirbys, the Lawrences, the Dustys, the Gary Petersons, the Chris Levels, the Casey Cowens. I mean,
the Matador Mob, baby.
There you go. They want to do well. Because every time I've told Joey, like after a big win, it's like, man, congratulations. He goes, dude, you too. And I'm like, I didn't. But he's very quickly to be like, no, man, this is an us thing, And because you and I both went to school there. So
I've said before, though, on a real note, you're spurring them along to great success on the sideline. You're down there in the trenches. I can't. I can't say the same.
There's plenty of. It's funny you say that because there's plenty of people that have my cell phone number that for some reason, family members included, that feel like that I have that I can affect the outcome.
Of course.
And like I get the brunt of it, and then sometimes you get the excitement too, like that's awesome, But like, dang man, what like can't you fix it? I'm like, I'm just sitting here reporting, man. I mean, I want it to be as beautiful as you do, but it's not happening for us today. So what do you want from me?
Don't play coy, Chris. Don't play coy. And we've all got our message shortcuts on our phone, like call you back, be right back, whatever. I've got mine, run the damn ball. I just fire off to Chris every once in a while.
See? That's right. That's right.
We can do a call for the boys in the backfield. That's a conversation for a different day. Before we get out of here, I do want to actually circle back to something you just mentioned. First, today's episode brought to you by Rougiette. Boys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to get Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is the next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify brain stimulation and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in only 15 minutes. If traditional options haven't worked, Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. So head to rougiette.com/lockedoncollege and use our code lockedoncollege to get 15% off today. That's rougiette.com/lockedoncollege, RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege, and use our promo code lockedoncollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. Before we get out of here, I do want to actually circle back to something you just mentioned and actually flip it to Coach McGuire, because you talked about understanding a role, and I think part of what he had to say really reflected him understanding not only obviously his role, but just the surroundings of this season. It's no surprise. We've talked about it before. They're embracing these increasing expectations. He talked about that, in a sense, being Captain Obvious territory, saying, quote, you've got to be blind and not see everything that was done. Like, come on, let's be Captain Obvious here and say there's some really big expectations. Why try to push that down or guard yourself? And you got to love that. And really, he's got no choice, because he was a big part of creating those large expectations, right?
And I feel like he's talking to people like you and I. I mean, we just sat here. I don't remember. It's been a few days or last week or something, but some point fairly recently, you and I were doing the episode, and we talked about where you were projected to finish the league and all that stuff. And I think I said, man, I'm more than okay not being picked to win it, being a little bit under the radar a little bit. It hurts too bad, but it's that scar tissue that we've all got from over the years, right?
Sure.
Even as recently as 2 years ago, when it's like playoff contender. I mean, that's what, and then you didn't achieve it, and then it's like, I'm not buying into that deal. We've hyped that group up enough, and anyway, he's running to the fire. I'm running away, but maybe I need to, like, I could hear him in the distance going, Chris, come back. So maybe I need to stop, listen to the head coach, and think about running back toward the fire, and not be so soft. SAWFT.
I think that's up to each and every individual Red Raider.
Right.
You got to approach it in your own way.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. That's right. And I there was expectations before 2008. You were supposed to do great things, and you did do great things. There was more great things that you wish you could have done. What I hated about that year, though, and I hope that we don't get into that this year, is you got to find your joy in this stuff, wherever that is, right? I just remember playing at Nevada, and they're like, oh, they're playing that stupid wolf sound over and over again, and I'm just like, and you won this non-conference game, and you won it fairly handily, is what the final score showed, but you were in a fight until mid to late third quarter, and you would kind of pull away a little bit. What was it, like 36-19? I can't remember the final.
Eric Morris with a punt return for a touchdown.
He sure did. And I remember Mike Leach after the game saying, we won this game because we had the best defense. Our defense won us this game. And it wasn't like pretty or easy on the eyes. But I just remember so many fans were so frustrated because it didn't look the way it was supposed to. It was like this beauty contest. And that's what, I mean, you don't ask how, just how many. I'm not trying to tell people how to think. I'm just saying I hope that people find their joy here. I find my joy in winning. I don't care what it looks like, man. They're not all going to be Picassos, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I think the joy aspect is tied into the last thought I wanted to offer up, which is essentially that I'm still maybe defining year number 4 for Coach McGuire and his program a little bit differently than some others are. We've talked about college football playoff or bust type of conversations, and one of the final takes or offerings from the article we've been discussing here, Chris, had this to say, quote, "Mess up this season and everyone is on the hot seat. The honeymoon is over. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to outflank even the top programs in college football." Now, that's the author speaking there, and you've got to dramatize everything a little bit. I understand that. You want a big finish.
Yeah.
But once in a lifetime, no, I don't think so. I think there will be more opportunities, depending upon, of course, how it goes. But I think there's a lot of leeway between, like big finish or shut it down type of territory. I know we've expressed these kind of thoughts before. And personally, the honeymoon was over, a long time ago. We've been out of the honeymoon phase for a period of time, I feel like.
Well, and again, it's a lot of times when you hear honeymoon, that means things are going poorly. Things have not gone poorly here. Like the honeymoon's over, right? I mean, things have not gone poorly here to this point. You've gone to a bowl game every year. You've had a winning Big 12 record every year. Where you had a road game problem. You had a non-conference, road game problem. Is that, let's see, Wyoming, NC State, and Washington State. So you've lost one of those. So you just get real smart and, in year 4, you're like, you know what? Let's put all of those non-conference games in Lubbock so we don't have that problem. So problem solved. But yeah, there's, yes. Do you have a Baylor problem? I mean, yes, some will say, yeah, especially in Lubbock, part of you would love to be able to play in Waco this year and fix that deal from last year. But generally speaking, this is worlds better than it was over the last decade. And I maybe worlds is too strong of a term. It's been trending up. It's been right. It's been better. But yeah, you have to know that if people are going to invest, because I think I go back to what Coach Blanchard said in one of those deals he was doing with a former personnel guy that does a lot of the media stuff. And he was like, how did this come about? Like, how did y'all decide, like, we're just going to spend all this money and get all these guys, whatever? And he was like, part of our plan was, here's who's in the portal. Here, maybe not having a true feel for cost. And I think that Blanche says, and the donors, so, Cody and Dusty and Gary and John and whoever else, what can we expect for as far as return on investment? Knowing we're not making money off of this, we're getting the general feeling about winning, and it may help the university. And that's ultimately our return on investment. But what tangibly can you say to us if we do this? What will it mean? And he felt like, Big 12 championship title contender, kind of thing. And so that's but there's no way to, it's too tricky to just guarantee anything, or like, it's just not how sports work. That's the fun part, because it's just, you can't guarantee yourself anything. And, as it's mentioned in the article, A&M had the number 1 recruiting class in the country, and it blew up in their face. It was a disaster. They all left, and the school paid $75 million to make the coach go away. $75 million. He owns 3 ranches, I think. 3.
Hanging out with livestock, much preferable to hanging out with Aggies. There's no doubt that's an upgrade for him.
And Jimbo may own an island. I thought it was funny too, because like pets.com got a reference in the story too.
Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed the look overall from the outside in at Coach McGuire and the Red Raiders in Lubbock, and enjoyed the momentary side swipe at the Aggies and pets.com.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, that's right.
But path all the way through.
Good job by Shahan, kind of painting the picture here and giving everybody, like, there's no guarantees in life, man. So
no doubt.
Doesn't mean you're gonna strike and then you're gonna be able to sell this thing off for $4 billion, like Cody and John were able to do fairly recently. So
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Chris, enjoyed it as always, man. An interesting look at the Red Raiders. Would encourage you to check it out if you haven't seen it thus far. There from CBS Sports. Still got another round to go before we wrap up the week. So looking forward to it, and we'll see you then.
Sounds good. Mailbag coming up next, I guess. We'll do that next time we reconvene, and hope it is alive. It's all West Texas. Our guns are up. The windmills are spinning. Barbecue's being eaten, and wouldn't want to be anywhere else, man. And for those of you out there that hadn't been here in a while, yeah, come take a look, man. Calvin and I actually live here. We like it. We don't comment on Lubbock from parts unknown or elsewhere. Or hey man, I remember when I used to live there. This is where we chose to set up shop.
Yeah, we're here, and we do appreciate a wandering eye and some wandering traveling dollars here or there. But we're running out of space. I'm not sure that we need anybody else to really set up shop here. Just want to get that in very quickly. It's getting tight out here in West Texas, so just maybe stay put and enjoy it from afar if you're not already here. I feel like that's a long disclaimer, but I wanted to get it in. Chris, thank you. Audience, thank you guys and gals as well. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks to the Everydayers and the Matador Mob for always riding along. Of course, you can hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.